You remember things that never happened. Your brain is absolutely certain about moments that are completely fabricated. And it does this without your permission, without your knowledge, and with total conviction. Right now, you carry a library of memories that feel as real as this moment. Some of them are distorted. Some of them are partially invented. And some of them are full-scale fabrications that your brain constructed from fragments and presented to you as truth. Memory is not a recording. It never was. You think of your past like a video library. Every experience filed away, stored perfectly, waiting to be played back. But scientists have known for decades that this is wrong. Your brain does not store memories. It stores fragments. Sensory shards, emotional echoes. Scattered pieces of a moment. And then reconstructs them every time you remember. The catch is that your brain does not tell you it is reconstructing. It presents the finished product as if it came straight from the original event. Every single memory you have is a creative act, not a playback. Elizabeth Loftus, the psychologist who revolutionized our understanding of memory, spent her career proving this. In the 1990s, she ran a now famous experiment called Lost in the Mall. She approached volunteers and asked them to recall 4 childhood events that their parents had confirmed. 3 of the events were real. 1 was completely fabricated, getting lost in a shopping mall at age 5. The volunteers described the fake event in vivid detail. They added sensory specifics. They expressed emotions about it. Roughly 25% of them fully remembered something that never happened. 25%. Your brain can manufacture a false memory in its entirety, and you will defend it as real. Loftus went further. She showed that the way a question is asked can implant a false memory. In one study, participants watched a video of a car accident. Some were asked how fast the cars were going when they smashed into each other. Others were asked how fast they were going when they hit each other. A third group heard the word contacted. The word smashed produced the highest speed estimates. But more than that, a week later, the smashed group was more likely to report seeing broken glass that was never there. A single word changed what they believed they had seen. Your memory is vulnerable to a single syllable. This is called the misinformation effect. Every time you discuss a memory with someone, you risk contaminating it. Every time you retell a story, you change it. Your brain does not flag the changes. It integrates them seamlessly into the original, then seals it with the feeling of certainty. The feeling of remembering and the feeling of imagining are neurologically distinct at first. But when you recall a false memory enough times, your brain literally rewires itself. The false memory begins to share the neural pathways of a real one. The more you rehearse it, the more it feels true. Your brain treats a well-rehearsed lie the same way it treats the truth. Julia Shaw, a memory researcher at University College London, demonstrated how far this can go. She brought volunteers into her lab and told them they had committed a crime as a teenager. She described the event in detail. The fight, the police involvement, the victim. The volunteers initially had no memory of this. But over several interviews, something shifted. They began to recall. They added specifics. They described what they had been wearing, what the victim looked like, how they felt afterward. By the end of the study, 70% of participants had developed a detailed false memory of committing a crime that never took place. Your brain can fabricate an entire criminal record, and it will believe it. This is not a laboratory curiosity. False memories have destroyed real lives. The Innocence Project has exonerated hundreds of prisoners who were convicted based on confident eyewitness testimony that DNA later proved impossible. The most famous case is Ronald Cotton. In 1984, Jennifer Thompson was raped at knife point. She studied her attacker's face during the assault, determined to remember every detail. She picked Cotton out of a photo lineup. She picked him out of a live lineup. She testified with absolute certainty. Cotton spent 11 years in prison before DNA proved he was innocent. The real perpetrator was found later. Thompson's memory was vivid, detailed, and completely wrong. She later became an advocate for reforming eyewitness identification procedures, and she and Cotton became friends. But the story reveals something uncomfortable. If a victim who stared at her attacker's face for minutes can be wrong, what about your memory of something you barely paid attention to? You have no way to tell which of your memories are real. There is no internal stamp that distinguishes a true memory from a constructed one. The feeling of certainty is not a signal of accuracy. Elizabeth Loftus showed that people can be equally certain about real memories and completely fabricated ones. Certainty is just a feeling. It is not proof. Daniel Schachter, a neuroscientist at Harvard, identified 7 ways memory can fail. He calls them the 7 sins of memory. Transience. Memories fade over time. Absent-mindedness. You forget because you were not paying attention. Blocking. The tip, the tongue feeling. Misattribution. You remember correctly but credit the wrong source. Suggestibility. External suggestions implant false details. Bias. Your current beliefs reshape your past. And persistence. Unwanted memories you cannot forget. Every single one of these is a feature of a normally functioning brain. They are not bugs. They are the cost of how memory works. Here is how it works physically. When you experience something, your hippocampus encodes the memory by strengthening connections between groups of neurons. But it does not store the event as a whole. It stores fragments in different parts of your brain. Visual details in the visual cortex. Sounds in the auditory cortex. Emotions in the amygdala. The memory is a pattern of connections between these regions. When you remember, your brain reactivates this pattern. But reactivation is not replay. It is reassembly. And reassembly is vulnerable to error. Every time you remember something, you alter it. The act of retrieval is itself a change. Neuroscientists call this reconsolidation. When a memory is recalled, it becomes temporarily unstable. It can be modified, strengthened, weakened, or overwritten before it is stored again. You are not the same person you were when you formed the memory, and that new version of you reshapes the past to fit your present. This is why childhood memories feel so real, but are often the least accurate. Your 5-year-old brain did not have the language, the context, or the emotional framework to encode an event the way your adult brain would. But you have been retelling those stories for decades. Each retelling updated the file. The version you remember now is a collaboration between the child who experienced it and every version of you that has remembered it since. You have memories of things you only saw in photographs. You have memories of events your parents described so vividly that you adopted them as your own. You have memories of things that never happened to anyone, assembled from movie scenes, conversations, and dreams. And you have no way to tell which ones are real. Consider flashbulb memories. You remember exactly where you were on September 11, 2001, or when you heard about a major event. These memories feel more vivid, more detailed, more real than ordinary memories, but research shows they are not more accurate. In one study, researchers asked people on the morning after 9/11 to describe where they were and what they were doing when they heard the news. They asked the same people again a year later, and then 3 years later. The memories were confidently held, richly detailed, and often contradictory with the original account. The more vivid the memory, the more confident the person, the more likely it was to have changed. Your strongest memories are your most edited ones. This has profound implications for how you understand yourself. The story you tell about your life, who you were, what shaped you, how you became who you are, is not a documentary. It is a continuous rewrite. Your brain edits the past to make sense of the present. If you believe the world is dangerous, your brain will emphasize memories of threat. If you believe you are capable, your brain will highlight memories of success. Your identity is not built on what happened. It is built on what your brain selects and reshapes from what happened. There is a reason evolution built memory this way. Your ancestors did not need perfect recall of what a berry bush looked like 3 years ago. They needed to remember which bushes were safe now, given what they had learned since. Memory is not about the past. It is about using the past to navigate the present. A recording would be useless for that. A reconstruction is exactly what you need. But here is the counterintuitive part. This system is not broken. It is elegant. A brain that stored exact recordings would be rigid. It could not update based on new information. It would lock you into outdated versions of yourself. But a brain that reconstructs the past can learn from the present and rewire itself accordingly. Reconsolidation is how therapy works. It is how trauma loses its grip. It is how you can revisit a painful memory in a different context and have it become less painful. The instability of memory is not a flaw. It is the mechanism of change. Your brain sacrifices perfect accuracy for adaptability. It trades the truth for the ability to grow. So when you remember your first kiss, or the fight you had last year, or the childhood moment that shaped you, understand that you are not retrieving a file. You are building a story. And every time you tell it, you build it again. The strange gift of the human mind is that you are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what you remember happening to you. And what you remember is not fixed. It is alive. It changes as you change. Tonight, when a memory surfaces, a vivid one you would swear on, pause. Ask yourself not was it real, but why are you remembering this version? Because the answer says more about who you are today than who you were when it happened. And the version you carry tomorrow might be different from the one you carry now. Not less true. Just shaped by a slightly different you. You remember things that never happened. But that does not make them meaningless. It makes them yours.